So when's the first time you got hot?
When I was 11. When I was 18, I moved to Japan and became a showgirl. So not stripper, but not stripper.
What is a not stripper doing?
We had beautifully choreographed, huge showgirl routines, in front of an audience, a big audience. And we were on a stage with elaborate costumes with maybe being topless. I don't know, something happened before I left to Japan and I ended up pregnant. And I didn't know it until 2 months into my trip.
When's the first time you did ecstasy?
Yes. Well, actually, yeah. My first orgy was on ecstasy.
No way.
That was fun.
Can you tell us that story, please?
No,
the first time they take a picture of your vagina, what are you thinking about with your vagina? Like, what is it supposed to look like? Are they spray? Do they mist the vagina? What do they do?
That was good for your first time.
Thank you. Hello and welcome to Dopey. I'm with Brandy Ledford.
Wait, I look dopey.
Well, let me help you. The question is, would you say most people know you from Baywatch, Penthouse, Andromeda? What is the thing?
Yes.
All of them.
Any of it. Well, because there's different people who watch different shows, right? A lot of people know Baywatch. Everyone on earth that I've ever met has heard of Baywatch. No one watched it. Everyone's heard of it. And so they know the name Baywatch. And then they go, oh, yeah, they just think they know, right? Like some blonde on Baywatch. They don't watch it, but they heard of it.
I think people in prison watch a lot of Baywatch and rehab. I think right now in prison or rehab.
Actually, I did hear a story recently. A lawyer told me that during the pandemic, his entire law office was so depressed during a New York winter, and it was so dark and dreary and COVID-y. And he ended up bringing in a bunch of palm trees and a bunch of televisions and little umbrellas, and he put Baywatch on 24/7, and it lifted the mood.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So, well, anyway, people know Baywatch, but then I have real cool sci-fi fans who know me from my sci-fi work in Andromeda, The Invisible Man, Stargate. So those fans are sort of more intense and loyal and forever because those shows are so ingrained in them,
Why?
Because you have to suspend your disbelief. You have to suspend your disbelief. You have to actually believe in these other worlds, life on other planets, other galaxies, other time periods, in the 2600s. And you have to just really believe that's true. And then you get involved and invested in the characters because you're in that with them. Like we're on it together. And they love it.
Were you a sci-fi person before you were in sci-fi shows?
No, not so much of a... I didn't love to watch that genre, but I say that, but The Matrix is my favorite movie, so...
You're a sci-fi thinker. The Matrix accesses sci-fi thinking better than anything.
Better than anything, and it has that real good spiritual quality that I love, right? And then just because Trinity is such a badass.
So you like Trinity?
No, I love Trinity.
Why Trinity?
My car is named Trinity. You can name your cars when you have a Tesla. It tells you to name your car. So I named my car Trinity.
How is the Tesla?
Crazy good.
You love it?
Yeah, I love it.
Is it one of these big sci-fi trucks?
God, no. I sat in one of those, though, and I was like, I will look like such a douche driving around. And you see them in LA all over the place.
Who doesn't look like a douche in one?
0 people.
And why did they make them look like that?
Because they're made by a douche.
But the normal Tesla is super sweet.
Yeah, it's like the best looking car on the road. Well, next to the Porsche Taycan. That's my next car.
Which one?
The Porsche electric. It's like the Panamera.
What do they call it?
Taycan.
Taycan. Is it out?
Yeah, it's great.
See, but the Tesla car looks beautiful. The Tesla
truck does not.
But why? What's your theory on why does it look like that?
I think Elon wanted it to look like Mad Max. I think he wanted it to look apocalyptic because it is an apocalyptic proof truck.
All right. Now, what about The Matrix? Like, I think The Matrix was the first adventure sci-fi movie that I could show to she's now 14, but I showed it to her when she was like 11, and she was like in it. What is it about The Matrix that really speaks to us, you think?
I think it's about choice. I love the idea that you can make a choice and then where that choice takes you. And then the fact that maybe this is all an illusion and maybe there is something bigger and better worth fighting for. And so, and because I'm a Christian, I like the whole idea of there's a chosen one and one who is there to save us all.
Right.
I like that.
That plays into the great Christian belief.
It does. Yeah.
And then like it also is a great recovery centric story.
How?
The Matrix.
How?
Because the idea that everything is exactly the same and everything you're doing, look down that street. You've been down that street a million times.
I love that.
But if you do this, you don't know how your life is going to turn out.
Do you know, though, that in recovery, you do know how your life is going to turn out if you're not in recovery?
Say it again.
If you relapse, right? Like in recovery, you do know that what will happen to you if you go out is going to be the same thing.
But what I mean
time.
is if you're using and
Yeah.
you choose recovery,
if you choose-
have
the
you have
opposite,
no idea what can happen.
How great it can be.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
right. I was saying the opposite. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
And I say that to my sponsees.
You do?
Yeah, I say, have you
Do
ever
they
seen
get
them?
confused like I did?
They have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm a horrible sponsor, but I try. So when's the first time you got high?
When I was 11. High was 11.
What's
but
the first time you had a drink?
3.
3?
Yeah, I had a family member.
Was it some Christian ceremony?
No, that would have been awesome, though. Okay. Like dunk little baby Brandy and some like red
in
wine.
Brandy?
Yeah, in Brandy.
Yes.
See, you are smart.
Sometimes.
No, but I do like to think that I was named after the alcohol, but I wasn't. But Brandy does mean the filler of men's spirits, to fill men's spirits. So,
People's or men's?
I mean men, but
okay.
People. I'm for everything.
Yes. Okay.
So,
Good.
Yeah. So a family member thought that it would calm me down to give me some rum. I think it was. Well, of course, I don't remember that, but I know the stories, and I know how gleeful everyone was about that story and how interesting it was, and it caused some family dynamic drama that night. But I do remember as early as 6, my mom would have parties, and there would be martinis with the olives or those little white pearl onions. Remember those gross?
Yes.
Like they're so disgusting, but I would eat them just like 6, 7 years old. Just eat them out of the vodka or the gin or whatever gross drink was. Because I loved that.
Classic alcoholism.
Classic
alcoholic story.
As like a very young girl, and but the olives were good at least. But mostly they had those like pickled things. So anyway, by the time I was 11, a friend's older sister had some pot, and we were smoking pot.
Southern California.
Yeah, Redondo Beach. And then at 14, I was snorting cocaine. The first time I went to the prom with a senior boy, and they were doing cocaine in the limo on the way to the prom. And I was like, yeah, I'll do that.
So you're 14, he's 17. Mm-hmm. And is this the beginning of like hot Brandy's life kind of thing?
I wasn't so cute in high school.
But then when 14, coke in the limo and the prom, it sounds
they
very
thought
much.
I didn't have that feeling about myself. The 80s were such bad hair. That's sort of what it was for me. I was like, I had such bad hair, but I guess I was cute.
But was it a thing, like when, because your career came out of like your beauty.
Oh, hot Brandy.
Hot Brandy. What did you think I meant by it?
Well, no, I knew that, but like I didn't feel like I was so cute when I was in high school. But I think everybody doesn't feel so cute in high school. Even Emily Ratajkowski must not have felt cute in high school.
I think I felt
so hot.
Probably cuter in high school than I ever did in the rest of my life.
I, as a grandmother, feel cuter now than I ever did.
Right.
Anyway.
How many grandkids do you have?
100.
Stop.
1.
Okay.
Anyway, I was cute. Obviously, the senior boy asked me to prom.
I'm saying, like, to be the Penthouse pet of the year, to be Baywatch.
I was hot then.
Well, you're very beautiful. It's not about your beauty. I'm saying, what does it do to your brain to be so hot?
We're skipping so far over the place.
I'm not skipping. I'm not. Because it's like, I want to go with this idea.
I'm just busting your chops. I'm in New York. I've become a New Yorker.
You're a chop buster?
I'm a chop buster. No.
I want to know, like, because I think that's a thing. I don't think I had the experience of being very hot. And I always, as somebody like, as a normal man or whatever, I've always been, my wife is very hot.
Is she?
She's very hot.
Can I see a picture of her?
Sure.
I like hot women.
My point, I never ask her what it's like to be so hot because it would objectify her. I don't know why I would ask you. Does that objectify you?
I don't feel that at all, but I'm really fully rounded. I'm very well rounded. I know who I am on the inside. I know who I am up here now. I know what I look like, and I want to be hot. I want to be told I'm hot. I love being hot, and I also love being told I'm smart and kind and talented and funny and generous and giving and sweet.
Well, so far you're funny and kind of not, chop busty, but you seem very smart and kind and giving to be here. Yeah. So all those things.
So it doesn't bother me to be called hot, but I understand that I have been objectified.
But the power I want to talk about and I want to hear about the first time you do coke, and I want to hear about your alcoholic adventures. But the power of being hot, what is that like?
Awesome. It's pretty cool. It's really something that if you channel it wisely, here's what I like to say is you can open the doors by being hot, but you need to have what it takes to stay in the room.
Right.
So the power is fleeting if you don't back it up with something. But having a little bit of that is great. It's also been a little bit, and I hate when people say it's so hard to be pretty. But it is sometimes a curse because you do get opportunities brought to you that you maybe don't have the willpower to turn away from, or you don't have the, growing up as a prettier girl, you get told you're pretty all the time as a very young girl, like literally like before I was walking. And it's all I was told from a very young age. But literally, that's all I was told. And so that's what I got my esteem from. That's what I thought I was. And so that's all I thought I was. And that's all I was. I was objectified and I was pedestalized for that and that alone. Well, here's the rub. Is pedestalized
a word?
I made it up, maybe.
Okay, it's good.
I like that word. Yes. So it's my word.
Yes.
Here's the thing about that. I didn't do anything for it. I didn't create the way I looked. I didn't work for how this turned out. I didn't do anything to look like this. So I don't get to build my self-esteem on the one thing everyone's telling me I am. So that's where it hurts. It's not that I'm being objectified. That's just like a meme. That's just like a conversation piece. That's an article in Medium magazine. The truth is, you didn't do anything for how you looked. So getting compliments for it can't possibly be fulfilling, can't possibly make you feel good. So now you add alcoholism. Now, I'm an alcoholic because I was born an alcoholic, not because I suffered trauma as a kid, not because of the this or the that. I'm an alcoholic because I'm an alcoholic. So now I have no self-esteem based on anything that I'm worth. My worth is built on something that's not something I did anything for. And I get drunk and high for the first time, for real, at 14. 11, I smoked pot, but then I didn't ever do it again.
So what happens, what's the experience like at 14? And by the way, I love what you just said.
Thank you.
And that was really what I wanted to know.
I know. I was just being funny.
But I don't think I asked it.
Real.
I don't think I asked it particularly well.
All right. I fixed it for you.
Thank you. So what's it like to get all fucked up at 14?
It was so more powerful. So now I feel like, oh my God, the senior kid. And they were not just the senior boy. I was in the limo with the senior girls too. So now I'm like, I think I'm hot stuff. Now I think I'm like hot because they're inviting me into their inner circle. And it's why I didn't say no to the cocaine, because I needed to be in that. It's peer pressure, but I wanted to be in that cool girl group. And then, cocaine makes you feel like you're on top of the world. And it just went, just partied all night at the prom, whatever. And honestly, when they drove me home, I got out of the limo and I was proud of myself because I didn't sleep with him. I thought that was going to be like the night. And
did he try?
Yeah, but it wasn't going to happen. And
was he very nerdy?
No, he was really cute.
But you were just
I like nerds. Nerds are cute too. But no, he wasn't very nerdy. He was like the hot senior.
But you were just like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, it just wasn't going to happen.
You set a boundary and you stuck to it.
I never set a boundary in my life, but I definitely.
Sounds like you did when you were 14.
Something happened that it wasn't going to happen. But I remember thinking that I was proud of that. Here I am so high I can't sleep on cocaine, but I'm proud that I didn't sleep with the I would have rather slept with the senior boy and not done the cocaine. I would have rather had my daughter. If my daughter was like, oh, what would you rather have? Your daughter sleep with the senior boy at prom, which is sort of what happens, or come home so high on cocaine she thought she was going to have a heart attack?
I don't know what I'd rather.
Really?
I mean, I don't know. I really don't know.
One can kill you. One can set your life up terribly.
I feel like both can.
Yeah, I guess.
You'd rather your daughter sleeps with the cute high school boy.
I mean, obviously the right answer is I'd rather neither of those things have to happen.
My daughter just went to her first high school party.
Oh.
Just how'd that go? This weekend.
Oh.
And as far as I know, it went really well.
Does that mean she got laid?
I think she did coke and got laid. No. I think she handled herself really well. Okay. I think they asked her to leave because she was so young, and she called my wife. My wife picked her up.
Well, on that, I wish someone would have protected me. I wish that wouldn't have happened to me.
It's a different time. It's like back
Yeah, I was
then.
a latchkey kid. Nobody watched us.
And now everybody's like up our kids' butts
I'm
and
nonstop. Yeah, we're watching them all the time.
So like you get home, you're happy you didn't sleep with the guy, but you're on coke.
Yeah,
and
now I
wired.
love it. Now I want coke all the time, and I did a lot of it between 14 and 16. Not a lot. Like, I mean, I was in high school, you know.
In my high school, there was no coke. Who has coke in your
all
high
the
school?
people. Oh, I'd name them, but I know the guy. I know where he lives still.
Right.
And friends, you know, and I was friends with the older kids. So I was always friends with the older kids who always had the stuff. And someone's older sibling always had the stuff. And they were always at my house. I lived across the street from the high school. So we were partying a lot. And by the time I was 16, so for me, the thing I wanted more than anything in the world by the time I was 10 years old was to drive a car. I used to sit on my dad's lap and he'd let me steer his van, or my mom would let me back out of the driveway. And it was the only thing I ever wanted in my life. When I was 15, I got my permit and I was so happy I got to drive. And when I was 16, my dad saved so much money just to buy me like a used 65 VW Bug. And I was in heaven in Redondo Beach in my little white Bug. And exactly 3 weeks after I turned 16, I got a DUI.
Oh my God.
I was driving that Bug down a hill from one party to my house where I was throwing a huge party because our party got busted up. I was drunk and I drove down a hill and I hit a kid.
What happened to the kid?
He lived. He was fine, actually. And I say kid because he was like my age.
Sure.
I mean, he might have been a little older, but he was skateboarding down a hill, zigzagging. Idiot. And he got hit by a car.
You. And what did your dad do?
My dad wasn't there, but I got thrown in jail that night because the cops were right there breaking up the party. My little sister is at my house now. She doesn't know what's happening. My mom's out of town.
This little sister that's in our
this
kitchen?
Little sister.
Yeah.
All the kids from this party are going down the hill to my house. And I'm getting hauled off to the holding cell at jail. Oh, I could tell you a funny story that happened to me in jail. I was in there with a crazy girl, like literally psycho. They're going to lock her up in the psych ward for sure. She takes all the toilet paper in the holding cell, shoves it down the toilet, and starts flushing the toilet to try to drown us. She's like, we're not getting out of here. I'm going to drown us. And there's like the yellow padded walls. And I'm like, please, someone help me. So I'm banging on the holding cell. Well, the whoever they're, cops, they're out there not thinking I'm banging because I'm like scared. They think I'm out there just drunk and being like, get me out of jail. Anyway, this gal comes in and she's like, what's going on? I go, she's trying to kill me. It's like this much water. I'm like, just get me out. And you know what? That lady took me and put me in a private cell. Now, I don't know about you, but when you're 16, you don't think you're going to be in jail. And you definitely don't think if you end up in jail, you're going to be in there with like a hot chocolate and a blanket. But that woman gave me a hot chocolate and a blanket. And she's like, here, you just take care till we get your mom. When they couldn't find my mom for hours. So I'm sitting in there. I get out of jail. And the lady was so nice. And I said, you were so nice, but I hope to never see you again. And she looked at me and she looked at me like, I'm sure we'll see you again. She was so sorry for me.
Did you ever go back to jail?
A year later.
For what? Same thing?
Lady was there. Yeah. No, I didn't hit a kid with my car this time. I was drunk in public at 17, banged. My boyfriend was with another girl at this party, and I took a beer bottle and just beat the shit out of his car. The cops were right there. They hauled me in, saw the same lady, and I was like, hi.
Did she give you the hot chocolate and the blanket?
No, not this time. But I also was court ordered to go to an AA meeting. And so they showed like red asphalt and all that. Do you remember that? Like,
no.
Just
what
terrifying. It's like this movie they show kids to scare them from drinking and driving. Red asphalt, like the blood on the street. Right. Well, that didn't stop me. It wouldn't have stopped me. Like, I was like, okay, I'll just be careful next time. You know, because I kept drinking for years. That wasn't like, oh, wow, I should be scared now and not drink. I just drank so hard. So the point of the car story is I lost my license for a year and couldn't drive. Like the one dream I had, I lost it because of drinking, and it didn't make me stop drinking.
No, it sounds like you went harder.
I did go harder.
And then what was like your style in your teen years?
Oh, I was so cute. I had the best style. Like,
what was your style?
Super 80s. Like I would wear high-heeled red to school, to high school. High-heel red patent leather pumps with like bobby socks and like a red and white striped cute little... I was like mini skirts. I still do. Like mini skirts and cowboy boots are my thing.
So you were hot girl, high school hot girl. That was the thing.
They say that about me, but I didn't feel that.
What did you feel?
Othered, like left out, like I wasn't part of the cool girls.
Like you were a classic alcoholic from the get.
100%.
In every way.
I was.
Right.
I know. I feel sad for that girl because I look back at her and I'm like, you were so cute and so other things. You know, you're not supposed to compliment little girls now that they're pretty. You're not supposed to tell them they're pretty. You're supposed to tell them they're all the other things to build their real self-esteem. But I wish I could have just gone back and told my little girl, like, you are great. You are pretty. You are special in all these ways.
And in my research, I read or heard you say that you wanted to be a dancer.
Oh, yeah. So I started dancing when I was 9 or 10, just in like dance teams at school, and
like cheer dancing or like dancing?
Drill team dancing, like jazz, not cheerleading, but actual dance with choreographers. We had like the Lakers choreographer. We had Paula Abdul's choreographer, like real choreography. We had competitions. We were the world champions by the time I was 11.
What was the high school?
Redondo.
Wow.
Redondo.
Was that
Union.
like just classic, like Dazed and Confused kind of style?
Totally.
Right.
Our biology teacher got busted for pot.
Right.
My school was on PCH. You could see the ocean from a lot of the classes. This is super surfer.
Yeah.
And I was a little roller skater, still am.
How much were you stonery or not stonery?
No, I wasn't stonery. I would smoke pot to come down from cocaine.
Right.
But I didn't like being stoned.
You were crazy, booze, coke, party,
coke, and then ecstasy later after high school, and alcohol. Well, alcohol is the number one, my primary
drug of choice.
And
your dream was to dance, but then what did you got derailed with partying?
But I didn't get derailed from partying. I knew that dance wasn't going to be a career. This was like MTV had just come out. There was no professional dancers unless they were strippers, and I didn't want to be a stripper. So it was like, what do I do? There wasn't. Dancers now can make a living. Plus, I didn't have guidance, so I didn't know. And I'm not that. I love to dance, and I'm probably mediocre, but I wasn't like these girls who do it now, right? So I just became a model.
So when did that open up?
Well, I did do one dance thing. When I was 18, I moved to Japan and became a showgirl. So not stripper, but not stripper.
What is a not stripper doing?
Like maybe we had beautifully choreographed, huge showgirl routines, in front of an audience, a big audience. And we were on a stage with elaborate costumes with maybe being topless.
How did they find you?
I was 18. I was sex trafficked. I went to a dance studio in Redondo Beach, and at the same studio I'd been going to. And the choreographer was a choreographer of a chorus line. She was very, very well known. And her mom was running this game. She was bringing these girls out to Japan. I graduated high school in June. I left in August for Japan.
You make a joke that you were sex trafficked, but at the same time, you're saying that she ran some kind of game. So what's
you bring in? I'm not a minor because I'm 18 legally, but I'm being brought out to Japan with all these other girls to dance topless. And some of the girls out there I actually didn't do topless. I think I had pasties, but a lot of the girls my age were topless out there.
And what kind of music are they playing when you're topless dancing?
Show tunes.
That's really weird, isn't
it? Yeah.
And it was like at a casino in Japan or something?
Costumes. It's like a lounge, right? Like a little lounge, not even a big state. Not
in
like
Tokyo?
A Vegas show. Nagoya, outside of Tokyo.
And how long were you in Japan for?
I was there for 4 months, and then I was supposed to go back to LA to get my visa and then come back. In fact, I left a huge suitcase there full of clothes because I was going to come back. But when I got back home, I did not want to go do that anymore.
Why?
It did not feel right.
And were you drinking like a fiend in Japan?
Constantly.
And
like I did not stop drinking. So part of your job when you're off the dance floor is to sit next to the Japanese customers and pour their whiskeys.
And this is where the sex trafficking really comes in, I'm sure.
Well, I didn't. A lot of the girls did do that, and I did not have sex with the customers. But you're a hostess, so you're treating them, like making them feel good. And I just didn't like it, so I didn't go back, which is the theme of my life.
Not liking something and not returning.
Doing it, then not liking it, then not returning. I'll do it.
Well, that's good to know what you like and what you don't like.
I know, but wouldn't it be better not to do it first?
I would have liked to have gone to Japan.
And dance topless for a bunch of Japanese drunk.
Do you have a bad feeling about it?
No, actually, listen, I've done a lot of things that I wouldn't do again and I wouldn't advise. And I love my life. I love my life story. I love the memoir I'm writing about it. I love the entire...
What's it called?
Well, I won't even tell you on camera, or I will tell you off the record.
What you're going to call it?
Yeah. Well, but the working title and the title of a chapter.
Well, I think this is very interesting because our lives, alcoholics' lives, anybody's lives are adventures. And like you got to travel to Japan where you danced maybe topless or close to it. Seems like it was topless now that we're uncovering it more.
I can't actually remember, to be honest.
But I mean, like, I've never been to Japan. I mean, nobody wants to see me dance topless.
I do. I would pay so much
Oh, stop. No, you don't. You do look back at it with regret?
No.
Or you look back at it and say, I wouldn't advise that for you?
Both. I don't have regret about it because it's my life. I can't go back and regret. I can't change it, right? Also, as a Christian, I've changed my life and I've turned it around. And so I've released my shame. I've forgiven myself. I did a lot of inner parent work in rehab. And so I have learned how to let it go as in terms of it being a regret, right? I also wouldn't even say I don't advise it because you learn a lot of lessons from it. I got a lot out of it.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say I wouldn't advise it. Would I want that for a young girl who I care about? No. Would I want her to have a better system in place that helped her not make that choice? Would I want her to get cured of her, get some help around her alcoholism? Of course, I would want those things to be different for my little girl, for any girl. But it's hard to say I don't regret it. I do wish I had made choices, had the system in place to make different choices at the time. But I didn't. So I did that.
What is your alcoholism like then?
Crazy.
Like how crazy?
I mean, I even now, sober 12 years and change, 12 years and 3 months. I can still be alcohol. I can still have crazy alcoholism. But when I'm drinking and high on, I actually get pretty belligerent. I get really kind of violent, belligerent. Angry. Yeah. Not all the time. Sometimes I'm so fun.
Were you doing a bunch of coke in Japan or no?
No, I don't think I ever could have done coke in Japan, but we drank enough to not even miss cocaine.
Were there any horrible stories from there?
I do have an embarrassing story, but that's not interesting. Yeah. I mean, yeah. For me, horrible, but not
what happened?
Fun, horrible, like actually horrible.
What happened?
I had been, I'm not going to say date, but I don't know, something happened before I left to Japan and I ended up pregnant. And I didn't know it until 2 months into my trip. And I'm 18 and I have to tell my, they're called mama-sans. They're
like caretakers, whatever.
Like a madam. But yeah, okay. And I had to tell her and she was mortified because she was going to lose money, right? Like I can't be off the stage. I think we had 1 day off a week. And so she found some seedy dive. And I don't even know where we were. And I literally had the worst experience of my life, I would say, because I don't know what they gave me to put me under to have the abortion, but it made me hallucinate that I was the baby.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It was horrific. And I remember it. Like, I don't even remember if I was topless. Remember every single detail of that horrible experience like it was yesterday. And I could not stay sober after. Like, I wasn't going to be sober anyway, but I definitely drank the rest of my 2-month contract out.
And do you remember like drinking at that experience?
I was drunk before it, and then I got home and was on, and so I passed out, fell asleep, and then the next morning woke up and drank. And I would drink whiskey, which was disgusting, but like that was the big drink in Japan. So
you don't go back. You're like, fuck this. Yeah. I'm done. And what do you do?
I see an ad in the paper. I want to be a model. I'm like, wait, I should be a model. I see an ad in the paper for full-figured models. And I was curvy, so I thought that meant like I have a full figure. Not curvy the way they mean curvy now. Curvy is like if you're a fat girl. Back then, I was just like voluptuous.
Right. And full-figured meant bigger, though. It didn't mean voluptuous.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I answer the ad and I go meet the agent on Van Nuys Boulevard in LA.
And he's like, you're not a full-figured model.
No, he goes, full-figured means nude.
Oh, that's what it meant.
Yeah. And I wasn't full-figured. I was perfect for my age. But those last few years, people told me that I needed to lose weight. I was like a normal teenager.
Who told you needed to lose weight?
Agents, producers, mama-san. And remember, I was pregnant. So like those first 2 months, I was gaining weight. So they were telling me I was gaining weight. So anyway, I go and he's like, no, it's nude. And now I'm like, well, I call it the potato chip theory. Once you've had one potato chip, you're like, fuck it. I'll just eat the whole bag.
Right.
So I was like, well, I already did a dance thing in Japan. I might as well do this. And I get to model. And I was with a husband at the time
Wait, when did the husband come
Came
in?
in the picture. I went at 19.
A Japanese man?
No, a very not Japanese man.
With the snowboarder?
Yeah.
Where did you meet him?
At a bar in Fullerton.
In Colorado? Where's Fullerton, California?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You're thinking of Littleton.
I'm not thinking of anything. I just thought he was from Colorado. Was he from Colorado?
No, he's from California.
So, and he's some big time snowboarder guy.
Yeah, like huge, gigantic.
And like, how do you wind up marrying him at 19?
I didn't think anyone else would ask.
So you really had horribly low self-esteem.
I did. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was hot. Now, I'm going to show you a picture of that day he asked me to marry him.
Okay.
I was not, and I say this with the most humble heart and with so much humility. There was no one hotter on the planet than me.
Right.
And I'm sitting there in this guy's family home at Christmas, and he's on his knee, and I'm like, I might as well say yes. No one else is going to ask.
Did you love him?
No, he was horrible.
Was he a addict?
No, he was so clean and sober. Not even sober, just like straight-laced guy at the time.
Where did he meet you?
At a bar in Fullerton. We were at a bar. I was with my friend for her birthday, and he kept flirting with me, and I was like, he looked like the guy from Flock of Seagulls. I was like, I'm not into this guy. And he hounded me for months. And I was like, fine, I'll go out with you. And he was super exciting. I mean, he lived a really fun, exciting life. And I was like, all right, fine.
Why was it exciting? He was like professional snowboarder guy?
Yeah, yeah. He was very cool. I mean, he was so cool. Literally, I don't know if there's anyone cooler. He was just cool. But he was very straight-laced. So actually, for that little brief time of us together, I didn't drink or do not because I chose to be sober. It's just I was now transferring that addiction onto him.
What does that look like? Like codependency.
Codependency, putting all my energy into him, liking what he likes, dressing how he wanted me to dress, doing what he wanted to do.
How did he want you to dress?
Black sleazy.
Black sleazy?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Like the least amount of clothes possible.
Black clothes?
When I left him, I bought
Or was it like black people sleazy?
Black clothes.
Black clothes,
Yeah.
sleazy.
When I left him, I bought a pink dress I still have and a pink lamp.
That
I
was your
still have
liberation.
fully.
He wanted you to dress like super like skimpy.
Yeah.
Okay. And all black.
G-strings on the back of a motorcycle.
Okay. So he was like a tough snowboarder, not like a hippie snowboarder.
No, not Hell's Angel motorcycle, like his little crotch rocket. Like his fast, speedy little, he
Okay.
was like an adrenaline
And he was
junkie.
good.
He was the guy that did backflips off 90-foot cliffs.
And he was good.
He was the best.
Good snowboarder.
The best.
So what happened with the marriage?
pioneer.
What happened?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to talk.
You don't need to talk shit about him, but what happened?
It wasn't working for me anymore, to be.
When you were a kid too.
I was a kid. But while I was married to him, I found this modeling career. And so I ended up nude modeling. And
If you're the hottest girl on the planet and you marry at 19, are you beating people away from you constantly? Is that your whole life always?
I mean, no. No, because there were people I wanted to be with who didn't want to be with me.
Okay. So you're 19 and you decide I'm going to nude model. Did he have a thing about it?
He wanted me to do it.
And you were like, I want to make him happy. I can do this.
Yeah.
And then like how fast from there are you in Penthouse?
And, so fit, 30 days. Like,
how did it happen?
there was a photographer, Suze Randall.
And she's like, this is the hottest girl on the planet.
I know I should never have said that.
It's good though.
No,
I'm
it's
glad. I'm glad you did.
Yes. And so she submitted me right away. She's like, oh no, you're not just one of those girls. She's like, I'm going to send you right away to Penthouse magazine.
And they're like,
Immediately booked a centerfold shoot.
and then what is that like? And are you, how much are you drinking and doing coke then?
Not any, because I was still with Damien. So I was not doing any of that. I was
What's his name? Damien what?
Sanders.
And he was a big time snowboarder.
He's a pioneer.
Okay.
Yeah. And he was with me every day. He came on every single photo shoot with me to protect me and be involved. So then I did my centerfold photo shoot. And I was like, okay, good. And then we just went off and did snowboarding, like life.
There was like some snowboarding movies too, right?
Yeah. We were in those and just did like his whole life for a year. And then next thing you know, I get a phone call. And the phone call is, are you ready for this? This doesn't have to do with alcoholism, but it's a good story.
Yes.
Don't shave your pubic area.
For Penthouse.
Yeah. I go, okay, why? Random.
Well, you were shaving up till that point.
Yeah. And they're like, Bob wants you to have a little more hair because he's going to shoot you for the pet of the year issue. That's how I found out I was pet of the year.
Before that, are they shooting your vagina?
Well, yeah, it's Penthouse.
Okay, I'm not that steeped in Penthouse. Although I looked today, I have to say, because I wanted to see what was going on. But it's very intense, right? So like when you have less hair, like he doesn't like that.
It was the 90s. It was his thing was like have a little more.
Because the 90s was very no hair.
Yeah.
It was a very no hair period. So he tells you to grow hair on your vagina, and you say, "Okay." Is it bizarre to have your vagina? I mean, this is the first time I've ever asked this question.
Oh, really?
And I'm enjoying it.
I broke your vagina,
Yeah.
Jerry.
Is it the first time, like when the first time they take a picture of your vagina, what are you thinking about with your vagina? Like, what is it supposed to, like, are they do they mist the vagina? What do they do?
That was good for your first time.
Thank you.
I can tell you it's really embarrassing.
They use butter to glisten it. Like, how do they glisten it up? What are they doing?
Not the last tango in Paris. There's no butter. I was not facing the camera the first time. So it's from behind.
Okay.
The photographer's behind me.
Yes.
And I'm had just taken off my bikini bottom.
Yes.
And he said, "Smile." And I was like, "But you're back there."
So there's a vagina smile he's alluding to. What is that?
He's like, because let me see some pink. And I'm like, I don't know what he means. I'm like, my face is facing that way. I don't know. When the makeup artist comes over, she's like, he means bend over. And I'm like, oh, I'm so green. So that was my first time.
Did it come naturally? Were you like...
That's a terrible question.
I don't mean it like... And I'm not judging in the slightest.
No, that was a pun.
Thank you.
I had to explain that. Yeah, it came naturally. It was very, very, very... I'm a super free spirit, right? So I'm just like, all right, let's go. And then I actually loved being photographed. I love women's bodies. I loved being all that, right? It was really fun at the time, right? It was a lot of attention, a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. When they asked me to be pet of the year, it was actually a way for me to leave my marriage, because I said, I won't accept the offer unless you let me move to New York, because I needed to get out of that marriage.
Why did you want to get out of the marriage so badly?
It was not abusive.
So how abusive?
I say a lot of things, but it was it got to a point where it just became really bad for me. And I couldn't leave.
Was it physical or controlling or?
Controlling, not physical ever.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, mental, emotional, sexual, but never physical.
Right.
And I was also just not strong enough without an out. And so actually I moved to New York. I lived here at the mansion, and that's how I got out.
Where's the mansion?
67th between 5th and Madison.
How much of a mansion is it?
2 brownstones turned into an 8-story.
How did I live here my whole life and not even know it existed?
It's the single largest private residence in New York.
How was it?
And now, like, someone bought it. Oh, it was so beautiful. He brought in every single thing from Italy. It was incredibly beautiful.
Bob
Guccione, gold everything. Mosaic tiled indoor pool on the basement level.
Wow.
Judy Garland's 24 karat gold piano in the ballroom. Servants, elevators. It was incredible. And I had my own floor, the 3rd floor.
How long did you live there?
A year. Well, you can guess. I lived there for 6 months until I decided I didn't like it, so I quit.
What didn't you like?
I was in Turkey. I would fly around the world from here. Shooting and being the ambassador for the magazine.
That's what the pet.
You're pet of the year. You're going to meet advertisers. Like I'd go to Mexico City and meet the guy from Bacardi, so they'd buy more ads, just representing. At that point, you're not even modeling. You're just a representative. So one of my trips was to Turkey, and I was getting out of the plane, and I was coming through the customs line. And by the way, now I'm drinking and using.
I was about to get.
I was really.
Well, I imagine I left
Damien and immediately started drinking.
Did you divorce him?
Yeah.
When you left?
Shortly after.
You're 20 years old?
21.
Right. You had been married to him for 2 years?
Less than. Not even 2 years. I think a year.
And what was like, how did you leave him? Did you get the gig and you're like, I'm out? Or was that like the excuse to leave?
He went to the store and I left.
Wow.
I couldn't say it. I couldn't have, that's why I had to leave. I couldn't do that. I had to wait until he was gone. It was December 17th. So we had our Christmas tree up. He went to the store. I put everything in a black, hefty trash bag, as much as I could carry. And I escaped. So
you're really whitewashing this relationship. It was like fucking trauma city.
It was pretty hard for me. Yeah. But a lot of it was because I couldn't speak up for myself at the time. I couldn't set a boundary. I couldn't say no. And I'll tell you something about this. I have to. Years later, Damien and I had a conversation and he apologized. And I heard he was married to a fantastic girl. And I said, do you treat her the way you used to treat me? And you know what he said? No, she'd never let me do that to her.
Wow.
I learned my part.
That's fucking deep.
Yeah.
But it's also like, and my go-to as a 50-year-old man sitting in my parents' apartment, I go to, you were a kid, you didn't know what you were doing. And it's like, and I don't know if that's the right place to go anyway, but you didn't know what you were doing.
For sure.
And you were basically in his captivity, but he was probably a kid too. And he probably
He was a kid. He didn't know what he was doing. I love him to death. I would follow him. I would be happy for him in anything he ever did. I have love in my heart for him. I have forgiveness. We were both kids. Having said that, I can still see that pattern throughout my life.
It's interesting though that the second you're not drinking or using with him,
Not with him,
and the second you leave, it's on.
It's way on. That's when it got really fun here. So I'm in New York. My sister was just asking me like, what? I have some friends here. We're gonna go see, and she's like, what were you guys like when you lived here? And I was like, pretty much in the gutter in Soho, like back then, like
the Gia movie.
Totally. I related so much to that movie. Just wasted. So we were drinking, following cocaine with Halcyon. Remember Halcyon, that old sleeping pill?
Sleep pill, yeah.
And if I was traveling, so I was drinking the Bloody Marys in the morning to get on the plane, drinking throughout the flight, passing out, blacking out, being just unbelievable, like throwing up on the plane on my sister. She was on a flight with me once. I threw up all over her. Just disgusting.
And when you're the Penthouse Pent of the Year, are people complimenting you on your vagina? Is that a thing?
Nobody.
That's never a thing? No way. I'm sure.
In private.
In private they would.
They would do a general overall compliment.
And then like how fast do the arrive?
Right away.
And it's like, and how filled is the mansion? I'm hoping it's very
I wish I could tell you good stories about that.
There's no opium den next to the Julie Garland room or whatever?
No, that would have been good. Yeah. No, they were really not into any of that.
And what's New York like? What 92?
Yeah.
So where are you going?
Great.
What are you doing?
Rudy Giuliani hadn't come cleaned up the city yet.
Right. It's that nice window between old New York and
gritty. We were Soho. We were like, all these fun, radical just lounges. And it was just a lot of Limelight. Remember Limelight?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were at Limelight a lot and those clubs.
I got hired to be a private investigator at the Limelight looking for in 98.
Okay.
No. 90. It was my 22nd birthday, so it was 96.
Oh.
And it was in that Peter Gation scandal case, and they had to hire people, but I was on and they hired me and a fellow guy to go look for.
Did you find him and do him?
No, we just did and he would write fiction. We did nothing. But what's your experience like in that time?
Just in the bathroom.
And you're around dancing and partying and making crazy. You did well with money with Penthouse or not?
Yeah, I made a lot of money back then. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And then what happened that you leave the mansion?
I was in Turkey and I was going through this line through customs and I saw like this, I wasn't in line, I was going through, being whisked through the passport control. And I saw all these people standing in line and it was hot and muggy and gross. And I tell my mom the story of how I got whisked out of the airport like a celebrity and into a limo and into my grand suite. She goes, "You must be so proud." And I thought about it and I was like, actually, no.
Why?
I didn't do anything for this.
It's that
my
same
hair was
story.
fake, my tan was fake, my teeth were fake, my tits were fake. I wasn't doing anything.
When did you get the fake tits?
Oh, that was fun.
When did that happen?
1990, after my centerfold.
Why did you do them?
My husband told me my boobs were laying too flat when I laid down at the beach.
That's what your husband said?
Yeah. But then I got really big, beautiful boobs.
Okay.
And so I just went, oh, wait, I didn't do anything for this. I can't be proud. And
that's the first story you told me.
That's right. That's the theme. The only thing I never quit were two things: on my children and my acting career. That has been and my sobriety at this point. Although relapse is a big part of my story, but
So what happened in Turkey then?
I don't think that same thing. I did my job and then I came back to New York and I said to Bob, "I'm so sorry. Please don't sue me, but I need to break my contract. I need to go back to LA. I want to be an actress. And this is not the life for me. This is not what I want to do." And he and we loved each other very much. And so he let me go.
And that was like I am not of value in the way I want to be of value.
Yeah.
I am not doing anything that stimulates me in the way that I need to be stimulated.
That's
and
right.
I'm going to become an artist, actor, whatever in LA.
Yeah. So I went back to LA and proceeded to drink and myself to almost death.
And what's that like?
Hardcore.
And that's early 90s, Los Angeles. Yeah. And what are you doing? Who are you with?
94. I then, because of my ex-husband's treatment, I decided I was going to be a lesbian. So I went and lived with Marla for a year, a woman. And
did that come very naturally?
yes. I'm just loving your pun again. Yes, it did.
I don't mean to be punny. It's just
You're very punny.
yes.
I loved it for a while. She wasn't the right person for me, but there was a ton of cocaine in that and a huge amount of partying.
What was the
Gay
scene
people
like?
know how to party.
Gay people. Oh, yeah. Hardcore.
Like I have some really good gay friends right now, like my nephew, and he's one of my favorite people in the world. And I don't wish I could ever party with him, but like there's a point where I was like, gosh, that would have been so fun.
So give us one gay coke romp in LA.
I can't remember that.
Oh,
I was always in a
stop.
blackout.
Give me a break.
Just orgies and stuff, you know.
Really? All women orgies or everybody?
Different things at different times.
Our show has had the gayest episode ever, then even gayer than the gayest episode ever, then gayer than that, I think it was called. And the gay dopey episodes are like the greatest episodes.
They gotta be.
Because it's like, except it can also get sad.
Of course.
You know, the sadness is never
right.
a great time.
That's right.
But the debauchery.
People die.
So how many
get sick?
But before we get to the sadness, how many orgies are you in that period? Is that a regular thing? Are you disappointed in me asking that question?
Of course not. You should. I'd be disappointed if you didn't ask, but I'm not going to answer.
How many orgies do you think you've been in your life, men and women, over 5, under 5? Over 5, under 5.
Oh, and under, let's say.
Under 5. So they were all special, each orgy.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So early 90s in LA, paint us a picture. Besides gay, sex, orgies, coke, ecstasy then?
Ecstasy.
When's the first time you did ecstasy?
Yes. Well, actually, yeah. My first orgy was on ecstasy.
No way.
That was fun.
Can you tell us that story,
ecstasy.
please?
No, I cannot.
Why not?
It was so fun.
Do you know who Ingrid Casares is? Ingrid Casares.
Why do I know? Yeah.
Because she's the matron of Miami South Beach, Madonna's ex-girlfriend.
Oh, yeah.
She called me up to come on Dopey. She comes here, spills everything, and uses it to write her memoir. And now they're making a movie, licensing clips from Dopey. Don't think you're missing out. You might be.
Okay.
This might be. And I'll tell you this. You can say anything, and anything you don't want me to use, I won't use.
Okay.
100%.
Got it.
So tell me the ecstasy orgy story, please. And if you need me to take it out, I'll take it out.
Well, I was on a photo shoot, and then we were at the president of Capitol Records house in Hollywood Hills.
You're modeling then?
Yeah,
still.
modeling still.
Okay.
I backtracked a little now with actually the cutest, hottest people ever. And just by the pool, and we're all on X and drunk and high. Thank God fentanyl wasn't around back then, by the way. Like
for you and me both.
So hate that it's here now. And also, it's just a bad business strategy for the drug
It's a
dealers.
double-edged sword because it gets people addicted. Like you won't get physically addicted to coke if it's not laced with fentanyl.
I know.
And you won't enjoy it
But
as
they're
much.
killing their customers.
Exactly.
Sorry, I know. Okay, no sadness. So anyway, we're on X, and we all just ended up in bed and played
What was the photo shoot for?
Penthouse.
Was there any good musicians? Was it like...
I'm not naming
It
names.
was. That's why you don't want to tell the story.
No.
Okay. What? Okay. So back to the story. So when did things go bad in LA? Was it metal musicians or
Not naming
indie rock musicians?
The indie rock wasn't a thing then.
What is 94? No.
Yeah.
So
93, 94.
So I'm guessing
Well, 92, 93, 94. Well, indie rock, maybe it's like grunge then.
it was still like, it was like
They were
pre-grunge.
the good ones.
Yeah.
They were the good
Really?
musicians, yeah.
Okay. We'll save it for the book. But I feel totally
And I'm
deprived.
not doing a tell-all either.
So then what happens?
I started acting class, and I was also, at the time, I had a really severe eating disorder. And a girlfriend of mine noticed that I had an eating disorder. And so she kicked my ass and made me, a girlfriend of mine, my very best friend in the world. And she said, you have a problem. You need to go to Thalen's outpatient clinic at Cedar-Sinai. And I did. And they gave me a list, a questionnaire, 20 questionnaire, and they said, and have you been abused? Have you been hit? Have you been this, that? And I answered probably 18 of them yes. And it was the first time in my life I was like, oh my God, I've suffered trauma. I've been abused. I didn't know it then. And I opened my eyes.
What was the eating disorder?
Bulimia.
And how long had you been bulimic for?
8 years.
From what, like 16 or something?
16 to 24.
And it was like, I need to control my weight.
Yeah.
I need to control food.
Body.
Right.
My body.
And like, I remember you were talking about your dad in that car, and you skipped right past it when I asked, was he angry at you when you got into the first DUI with the skateboard?
My dad would have been scared for me, not angry. And I didn't live with him. So
it wasn't like there was.
My mom was angry.
But there wasn't abuse there.
My dad never abused me, no.
So who's hitting you and stuff?
Just stuff happened in my childhood. Yeah. Not my dad. So
sharing that stuff is like, I mean, I like to hear about orgies in your vagina and stuff.
You do?
But I do. But this kind of stuff I think is very important because a lot of people go through it. And I know that people hear about it on the show and it makes them feel less alone.
Yeah,
so
for sure. I understand that. When I realized that had happened to me, it actually catapulted me into harder drinking at that time. I stopped being a bulimic. It really helped my eating disorder. How
did you stop being a bulimic though?
That clinic helped me.
What did they do?
Talk to me about healthy eating choices. Talk to me about control. Talk to me about the things that why people become bulimic, basically. And it was a really amazing. I think awareness is really the first step and the first key to understanding whatever you're going through. And so now that I had some awareness over what was happening to me, why I was doing it, I was able to exercise instead and diet. And I sort of replaced it, the eating, the binging and purging with more moderation. So that wasn't really like addiction in any way, because addiction, we can't do it in moderation. We can't do it with self-will or self-control. I can't. But I did get heavier into my alcoholism and addiction, and I was really slowly killing myself with and alcohol. And, I would be out at like Spago, and I had this gal come up to me, and she's like, "Do you remember me? I was in Japan with you." And I was like, "Oh fuck," because I didn't want anyone to know. It was very like secretive. I didn't want anyone to know.
Around
so
everything.
Much shame, and that shame brought me back home. And I said, "I'm just going to kill myself." So I drank a bottle of Jack Daniels and did a ton of cocaine. And then I woke up the next morning, found out I was pregnant.
Wow. And who was the dad?
My ex-husband.
Damien.
No, my other ex-husband.
Who was the second? When was the second marriage?
Time. I'm flip-flopping on time.
Well, help me out.
I met him. He was my co-star on a TV series that I did.
What show?
That was it was actually a pilot for Aaron Spelling called Pier 66.
Okay. And who is the guy?
Martin Cummins.
And you're
my older child.
Are you with him now?
No, but we're really good friends.
When did you divorce him?
24 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
On Wikipedia, it says you're still married to him, I think. Who are you married to now?
I'm not married to Martin anymore.
It says you are on Wikipedia.
Oh, really?
We need to fix
He would love that.
I bet.
We should tell him.
I'm sure he knows. I'm sure he shows
We
people.
should tell
I'm
him.
sure he shows people all the time.
No, well, anyway, so then I had to stop drinking and doing because I was pregnant. And I know a lot of women can't. And so, my heart goes out to them. But I made a decision to have that baby. Then I moved to Canada with Martin, and I have my baby.
How do you feel about Canadians in general?
They're really nice.
See, I don't feel that great about them.
Well, my son is Canadian, and my mother is Canadian.
Right.
All my aunts and relatives, and my beloved Nana was Canadian. So
I should maybe change my Canadian tune?
My favorite cousins are Canadian.
So where do you move to in Canada?
Vancouver.
Okay.
We were working on TV series up there. For 12 years, we worked back and forth, both of us, different shows. And so I didn't drink. I drank a lot after Christian was born. I started drinking again, and a gal said, "Why don't you come to AA with me?" And I was like, sure. Now, at this point, I was divorcing that husband too. So I was going to AA women's meetings.
Why did you divorce him though?
He just kept being unfaithful to me.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah.
How could he do that to you?
Show me a beautiful woman, and I'll show you a man who's tired of fucking her.
Wow.
That's what he told me.
He said that? No, he did not.
Swear to God.
He said that to you?
He said that to me about a different beautiful woman.
Wow.
That we were talking about, whose husband was cheating on her.
Wow. When did he tell you that, before or after you were divorced?
Before.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a thing to say.
He manifested it.
He manifested it.
See how I rounded that whole thing back?
Very good.
So I went to these women's meetings and complained about this boyfriend that I was obsessing over at the time. But I stopped drinking. And I looked at step 1 and I was like, yes, I'm powerless. I can't even handle it. I looked at step 2 and I was like, I'm a Christian. I got this. I looked at step 3.
When did you become a Christian, though?
20 after the girl.
After Marla?
Yeah.
What made you become a Christian?
I was at my grandma's funeral with my dad, and my dad was a Christian. My Uncle Billy was next to me. He was a minister, and they just wanted me to be a Christian so bad. They wanted me to go up to the altar call after the funeral. We went to church the next day. And I was doing cocaine all the time, and I was living with a woman, and I was like, I need to change my life. I have lived a life of sin. I was a disgrace, and I needed Jesus to save me, is what I thought.
So you were very interested in being sober at that point.
No, I wouldn't call it sober. I was interested in saving my life and getting help. And so I found God. But I didn't use God as a higher power. I used and alcohol still.
But it's very useful to have God in your back pocket when you hit it.
I love it. But it was a start. And I was able to get the courage to leave her. Then I married Martin, and then I moved to Canada. And I go to these meetings, and then I look at step 3, and I was like, yeah, okay, God, you can have my life and my will. And then I look at step 4, and I'm like, it's all Martin's fault, and I don't have a part in it. Done. And that was it. And I stopped working any steps. And I went to meetings talking about boyfriends, and then eventually I just stopped going to meetings. But I didn't drink for 10 years.
You didn't drink for 10 years?
I didn't drink or use any for 10 years, but I put all of that addiction into men and work.
When did you give up lesbianism?
I mean, do you ever give it up?
I don't know.
I love women.
So it was like, but you were like, that relationship didn't work. I'm interested in guys. And then it becomes, would you say it's sex and love addiction at that point? Sex and love compulsion? Did you do that fellowship? What do you think?
Love it.
You still do it?
Sometimes.
The bottom line stuff I find to be very confusing.
It's really difficult.
It's very confusing.
And I couldn't do it, to be honest.
I
mean, AA is my jam. That's where I get my love and help and support and guidance, and I'm surrounded by it now.
So would you say for those 10 years, and Christian was your son,
mm-hmm.
and you were probably incredibly invested in being a mother.
Well, and being an actress, because...
When does Baywatch come?
So when Christian was 3. So I went and moved to Hawaii for a year with him, and we went, or 8 months, and filmed that show. And then I filmed a lot of shows in Canada, the sci-fi shows, and then I moved to LA. And
wait, when did you do Married with Children?
Oh, that was in 94.
That podcast you were on with the Scottish guy, that's like the best podcast I've ever seen in my life. That's like my favorite podcast I've ever. Right? It's amazing. Because you're so sweet to him.
Oh my God.
And he's so just, he's earthy. You know what I mean? He's of the earth.
He's of the earth.
What's that show called? Do you have any idea? It's like the women of Married with Children.
Yeah.
I recommend it.
I love it.
Anybody in Dopey Nation, check out Women from Married with Children. It's good. You don't think it's good? That's like trailblazing YouTube podcast shit.
He's sweet.
Yeah, very sweet.
Yeah. I want to say you did another one of me.
You were on the George Carlin show.
I was.
What was that like?
I love George Carlin.
What was he like?
Super, super cool.
Yeah,
super cool. Yeah.
Did he talk to you a bunch?
Yeah, I did.
What did he say?
I don't remember.
He was like, what's the quote about a hot woman and fucking? He didn't say anything like that. No, he didn't say that.
No.
Okay. But he was cool.
Yeah, he was really, really cool. Mm-hmm.
And so, and how does Baywatch impact your life? Like, you're a celebrity. Like,
yeah.
But do you think you were already so celebrity from Penthouse? Was it different? Was it bigger?
It was different at that point, for sure. The thing is, I wanted to be taken seriously as an actress after Penthouse. I didn't use it as a stepping stone. A lot of playmates at the time were using their playmate status as stepping stones to get into roles, and they used that persona and that image. And I went the opposite. I cut my hair. I wore very little makeup. I dressed quite conservatively, and I wanted to be a serious actress. I went to a really, really tough dramatic art school for 3 years, graduated, and wanted to be taken seriously. And so I was sort of the athletic one on the show. I'm not really athletic, but I was like the
You
smart.
played athletic.
I played athletic. I was the kinesiologist.
Right.
And I was the smarter, and not the
less sexy one.
Yes,
I
was
played
the
less sexy. You played less sexy.
Can you believe it?
I can't believe it.
But I wanted
It's
to
acting.
I wanted to act, and so I didn't use it the way I could have. I would do it differently now. That I regret. I'll tell you about a regret. I regret like Maxim would call and they'd be like, "We want you to be the top 100 like most beautiful woman in the world." And I was like, "No, I want to be a serious actress."
And you wish you had done that.
Yes, I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have been my whole, full, beautiful, sexy self on Baywatch. I would have done a lot better, right? Because I could still act.
Does that like the last thing you think about before you go to bed ever?
No, I think about the 2 nominations I got for Best Actress for another show.
But I mean, like I have weird shit that I think about late at night.
I have no problem believing that.
What are your regrets late at night?
None.
None.
Go to
Bullshit.
bed.
I don't believe
I do an
it.
inventory every night.
You do?
I would do it
on paper
every single night. I mean, on an app.
You do that bullshit list.
At MSP.
thing? That's not a real inventory.
Yes, it is.
Oh, give me a break.
It's so
What's it called? Tell me about it.
My spiritual toolkit or something.
That doesn't. MSP is not toolkit.
Whatever the P.
My spiritual
toolkit,
pages. I bet it's got to be that. All right,
Maybe.
hold on. We're taking you far off course here.
Yeah.
So you regret not being your big beautiful self on Baywatch. You regret not being super hot in Maxim and FHM. I understand.
Yeah.
And you didn't go on the Howard Stern show and do it.
I did go on the
You
Howard Stern
did?
show as Pet of the Year.
And how was that?
Fine.
Was it annoying?
No, it's whatever.
You
I
don't
did a
care.
lot of that stuff back then. It's like a wash. I just did lots of talk shows and stuff.
For 10 years,
Loveline was fun.
I saw you on Loveline.
Yeah, I love that.
For 10 years, you're not drinking.
Yeah.
You prefer Loveline to Howard.
Any day of the week.
Why?
I loved it. Because I grew up in the 80s with Loveline. I used to listen to it on the radio every night.
Right. All right, back to the story.
Yeah.
Back to the story. Dr. Drew lives right over there.
Does he?
Yeah.
Hi, Drew.
Fucking 10 years not drinking, obsessed with guys. When does the relapse happen?
14 years ago, I decided that I could drink like a lady now. I was like, I'm in my 40s. I'm older. I have a different life now, and I can just drink a glass of wine with dinner. So I did.
And?
I did not ever drink like a lady. I started hiding it, started hiding bottles of vodka in the freezer and drinking every day. And then I found pills and I found a dealer.
How did you find pills?
Through your hairdresser.
How does it even come up?
I asked.
So you'd have a drink. Is it the story of alcoholism? You have a
Yeah.
drink and it ignites the gas
Right
burning
away.
stove, whatever?
Right away. It's so insidious. I can't even believe it because I hear it in meetings and shares all the time. I'm like, okay. But it actually happens. It actually just takes you and you can't stop it.
And you hadn't been a benzo opiate person.
No, and I never was a benzo person.
So how did you wind up on opiates though?
I had like a surgery, and so I had extra pain pills.
What was the
kicking around.
surgery?
Another boob job. I had them replaced. So I had a fight with my older son, and it was terrible. It was a horrible fight, and I was feeling like I was not going to survive it. I was in so much pain, and I went, "Oh, I have pain pills. I'm in pain. I'm going to take some pain pills," because I had already started drinking at that point. One of the worst mistakes in my life. I made 2 really horrible mistakes in sobriety. One has to do with my son, and the second one was picking up a drink stone cold sober because I thought I could. So I started
How
drinking
old were you
again.
when you did that?
42.
And you didn't have program. You weren't in AA. Yeah.
That's what I mean. I was not drinking, but I didn't have program at all. I stopped after that half 4th step, and then
You had Jesus and no program, and you were like not.
and I wasn't
thinking
even
about that.
using Jesus or my therapist.
Right.
I was not even talking to my therapist, honestly. So I take the pain pills, and I'm like, oh, because they got better pain pills or worse,
What were you taking?
more stronger, Vicodin, and then Norco, and then tons of Norco.
Everyone loved Norco.
They loved it so much that even now when I had like my C-section or anything thing. I'll make him not give me Norco.
I just had hernia surgery 2 weeks ago.
That's painful.
And they gave me oxycodone.
Oh.
And it was so good.
I love that. I make him give me Percocet. I'm like, no, I can't have those little yellow pills because I'm addicted, but I can take Percocet because I never was addicted to that.
I was addicted to heroin. I never was addicted to
Really? Was heroin so good?
I mean, it was great until I was addicted to heroin and benzos and
benzos are really hard to get off of.
all of it. And I was on methadone for a million years.
Oh.
But talk about did you fall in love? Talk about falling in love with the Norcos.
Oh, they were good. I mean, I can see like my little baggie of yellow pills right now. I took those all the time because I was hiding my drinking. I couldn't always be high. I mean, drunk with people, but I could always take pills.
Because they could smell that.
I could smell it, yeah, or see it, right? They could just go sneak a pill, and just that high then the low is so bad, but it just makes you float. It's just this other world, and it made me feel like I could actually be like not othered, I could be a better mom. I could be,
because it gives you that weird energy at first.
Gives you that weird energy at first, that boost. Now I'm very careful. If I have something where I have to take a oxycodone, I'm extremely I tell everybody, I tell my sponsor, I make, other people hold a bottle. I'm very don't give me these.
Did you have relationships with dealers when you were coke binging?
Never.
So who's the Norco dealer?
Some guy I'd meet in a parking lot.
And how often were you meeting him?
Depends on how fast I was going through whatever I could afford to.
But that was your first real relationship with a dealer.
Yeah.
Were you what the fuck?
He was on speed dial. You couldn't get me out of the house ever unless he called. Then I was like, yep, let's go.
And how long a period was that?
A year.
And so what happened with the gurney story?
I was in a big fight with my son. I was having a horrible situation. I was really, 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 really depressed. And I just wanted to end my life. I wanted to take my own life. I was not happy. My husband, I was married again to a different man now. My third husband, if we're keeping track. And he filed for divorce. I had ruined his life. And I got the divorce papers and I wanted to end my life. I thought there was no other way out. I couldn't drink enough to make my problems go away. No amount of Norco in the world was going to solve anything. And there was no other way. What else was I going to do? So I decided to kill myself that night. I had called someone and was yelling at them and telling them that I was going to do this. And they called the cops and they came to my house. And I was incredibly belligerent, thrashing around, going, don't you know who I am? Look at this picture on the wall. That's me. You can't take me. And they were like, sure we can. You need to go to the hospital. And I was crazy, screaming at them, horrible. And they dragged me out of my house, handcuffed me to the gurney, put me in the ambulance, and took me to the hospital. They hooked me up to 2 IVs, pumped me full of lorazepam, calmed me down.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, it's good. And people begged me to go to rehab. And there I am, hooked up, handcuffed, just saying, I don't have a problem with alcohol. I'm okay, but I'm fine. And then when I came to in the morning, I was like, okay, fine, I'll go. And my mom.
What made you say you'd go? Because
to get everyone off my back.
How much were they on your back?
That's not true. I mean, the whole night. But also my best friend was there, and she had showed up at 2 a.m, and she just was begging me and telling me that I need to change my life and I need to get help and that I'm worthy of getting help. So this is the second time, because it's the same best friend who's helped me get off of being bulimic.
The same woman.
20 years
and
prior.
She's been in your life the whole time.
Yeah.
How, and if you don't want to tell the nature of the fight with Christian, that's fine. How bad was that time? How much did you ruin that dude's life, the husband guy?
Forever.
Why? Why do you say that?
Alcoholism, just hurting other people, self-centeredness.
But he can come back.
He did. He's
okay,
fine.
so he didn't ruin his life
fine.
forever.
No,
He's all
At the
right.
time I hurt his heart, broke his heart. But it was hard for me that I hurt him.
Right.
And that my alcoholism had taken me so far down that path that I would hurt someone that I loved and hurt someone that I cared about. And my alcoholism also happened when I was sober by hurting my older son, and I've forgiven myself.
You were
that,
abstinent.
Otherwise I would
you
kill
weren't
myself.
sober.
I was abstinent. Yeah. That pain and that shame is what made me want to kill myself. So then I went to rehab.
Where'd
to
you
get everyone
go?
off my back. And I found out about alcoholism, and I did all 12 steps this time, completely rigorous. I went to the Arbor in Texas, Austin, Texas, for 3 months. And when I got out of 3 months of treatment, I went to 90 meetings in 90 days. And then I went to a year of IOP. And I go to meetings a lot, and I have a sponsor, and I do my 10th step, and I pray and meditate. I do the deal now. I stay in the middle because it's my life.
No, I get it. I get it. I mean, like, I'm in the same exact spot, and I really appreciate the time.
Yeah.
But I know there's something juicy you didn't tell me. So what is it? Give me one piece of juice, and then I'll let you get out of here.
I told you about my vagina and orgies. I think I got juicy enough.
That's very juicy. What about Vince Neil?
Yeah.
Annoying? Not the best thing in the world for you?
He wasn't a good lover, no.
No. I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe
I'll tell you something about that. I didn't like Vince. I liked Janine. Janine was who I wanted to be.
That's his wife?
No.
Who's Janine?
Oh, wait. What do you know about Vince?
I don't know.
How do you know about Vince and not Janine?
I don't know anything. Who's Janine?
Janine Lindamuller was my...
Yeah. I did read about that.
So she and I were in Penthouse together, and we would do photo shoots together. And I thought she was the most beautiful thing that ever lived on the face of the earth.
Even hotter than you at 21?
20 times hotter than me. She was absolutely the most beautiful thing that ever walked on the face of the earth. And I was in love with her. And so she's like, hey, she was dating Vince. And she's like, Vince wants to go to Hawaii and take us all to Hawaii. You want to go? And I was like, yeah, sure, let's go. And we were on crystal meth and ice.
What's the difference between crystal meth and ice?
I don't know.
Okay.
But she was calling it ice, and it was way more powerful than crystal meth. It was horrible.
Yeah.
So this is juice. Is this the juice you want to?
It's juice. I hope I didn't waste any of your time. Did you have a good time?
No, wait, I was going to tell you about the
good. Tell me.
But you cut it off.
No. Hold on. So how much crystal meth and ice did you do in your whole...
You don't need to do a lot.
No, in your whole career of using?
Not a lot, actually. I hated it. But there was about a 6-month period where I would take little chunks of it and put it in a piece of bread and eat it for breakfast.
You ate crystal meth sandwiches? I've never heard that before. That's the first one. I've never asked anybody about their vagina, and I've never heard about crystal meth sandwiches.
Yay.
So you go to Hawaii with Janine and Vince.
No, that was good. We're done.
No, I want to hear about them. And I've never heard, I don't think I had a menage a trois story on the show.
Have you ever had a menage a trois?
Not a good one. Not
like pizza or orgasms. How do you not have a good one?
I'll tell the story. The answer is no.
Okay. With your hot wife? Your wife is so hot.
She's not looking for menage a trois, my wife. Thank God.
Of course not. She's the mother of your children.
I'm not looking for menage a trois. There was a brief window in my life that it would have been a good thing to try to work out, but I was too much. I was the kind of junkie that didn't leave the house. Like I was not a partying junkie. I was like more of a television watching, ice cream eating junkie.
Crazy.
It was a good time for me.
Yeah, no,
I feel okay.
Yeah.
Let's get to Hawaii. I need to hear about the menage a trois.
We just did a thing.
So you're saying
I was so out of it. I don't really know, like, really what was happening, but really out of it. Like, crystal meth is one thing, but that other thing was like
ice.
Just like out.
Ice is the other thing.
Ice is the other thing, and it just puts you out. Like, I was almost not really moving, just like laying there, not moving. So we have our fun time, but I really want to be with Janine, and she really wants to be with Vince, and Vince really wants to be with Janine. So I'm left out.
So why are you even there?
Because she asked.
But neither of them,
let's go.
Neither of them are like into it with you, and you're into it with her.
Just because it's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah. And someone's filming it, and
who is filming it?
I don't know.
How many menage a trois have you had?
That's a lot.
A lot.
Over 5.
Over 5.
Yeah.
Over 20. Under 20.
Not answering that.
What a life. What a life you've had. Thank you so much, Brandy. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, Jesus.
Did you have a good time?
More than I would ever even. My sister's now like, who the fuck is my sister?
Do you think?
Hearing all this.
Do you think you've ever been on a podcast this good before?
Never in my life.
But here. You did good. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Was it dopey enough?
It was fucking great. You were amazing.